Your timeline should look very similar to this one, where I have up 1 on 1, down 2, up 3, down 4, and so on. And on 90, I end up with down 10. Now what's going to happen is our ball is going to stop bouncing. So on 100, instead of doing up 11, I'm just going to write end. That's going to be the end of our animation. So at any point during the animation, if I forget or I get lost and I say, oh, I can't remember if the ball's going up or down, I can look at the timeline. It'll tell me exactly where I should be. To start the ball bouncing, what I'm going to do is create a new layer. So we have the new layer icon, which you've used before, and let's call it ball. To draw a ball, we're simply going to find our oval tool. I'm going to choose, let's say, a red ball. If I really wanted to look three-dimensional, I would choose a gradient, and I would draw the ball. Now you notice the gradient isn't quite working, and I think it's because it's so large. There we go. I don't know what that was. But anyway, if I want to change the direction of the gradient, remember I can take my paint bucket and I can change it. And now it's going to be funny again. Oh, there we go. This sometimes happens. You just have to know how to fix it. For some reason, it was set for a larger gradient. And then now I can set it the way I like it. Now for this sample, you certainly don't have to do that. I think it's just a nice touch. We're going to take a look at our timeline. And you'll notice that I have a black dot here on frame 1 on the ball layer. What that means is that I have a keyframe. There's something on that keyframe. That's why it turns black. On these, there actually isn't anything drawn, so that's why they stay white. And then we have this big gray bar behind it, which is the static, which means that basically frame 5 is copying frame 1, 10 is copying frame 1, 20 is copying frame 1. We are on up 1, which is where our ball starts bouncing, so it'd be a really good idea to have our ball off the stage. So I'm going to bring it up to the top, and I'm going to bring it off the stage because that's the height of where it starts. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to hit F6 again, and now I have 2 keyframes. So you see I'm now on frame 2, and I know that because the second frame is highlighted. Also, there's a little blue 2 here, which tells me I'm on frame 2. At this point, I want the ball to start moving. So I can either use my arrow keys, which is on the keyboard, and I'll just nudge it down a little bit, or I can use my mouse and drag it. If you're going to use your mouse and drag it, hold Shift, and it'll keep it moving in a straight line. And so I move it down a little bit. If I hit F6 again, I can move it down a little bit more. In a couple seconds, I'm going to show you how to evenly space them out. But right now, we're just trying to get a hang of creating new keyframes. So every time you hit F6, it creates a new keyframe. And I'm going to move it down a little bit. And then hit F6 and move it down a little bit. And hit F6 and move it down a little bit. So you may be wondering how far down? Well, we're pretty much going to stop where it says down to. That's where it's going to reach its floor. And so I'm just going to keep hitting F6 and nudging it down. And then F6. And nudge it down again. And then F6. I'm going to nudge it down one last time. Again, remember to hold Shift the whole time. And then one last F6. So a real quick run through of what our animation looks like. I'm going to grab this red bar here, which is called the header. And I can drag the header back and forth and create a movement. So on every single keyframe, the ball's at a new position. And using the header, I can make the ball go up and down. Next, we're going to talk about onion skins and how to make this look really smooth.